Hey YouTube, how you doing? It's Max. In this video, I'm going to be talking a bit about, I guess, my Habitica, and also, I've been thinking about starting Habitica up again, and also, I was going to go over some recent personality quizzes I've taken on Crystal Knows. I guess starting with Habitica, Habitica is this app that I used to use back in like 2021 with some friends. You can kind of see them all up here at the top. And it's pretty much this game that's also a habit tracking app. And so what you do is you can put your habits down, your dailies, your to-dos, and you can check them off every day. And if you check them off, you get like experience and you get gold, and you can use that gold to buy cosmetics for your avatar and stuff like that. You can also, if you do a lot of tasks, you can go on quests with people. And I haven't done this in like a year and a half. I'm just starting it back up again. But if you do quests with people, then you can like get like unique gear or something. So these are some of the people I was doing it with. This was the first day I really did it. I don't know why it says 5. I guess it like continues that from like a year and a half ago, even though I don't know. But what I'm trying to do is wipe something in the kitchen, and this is pretty much like every day I want to just get in the habit of cleaning the kitchen. So sometimes we'll cook dinner or something, and it will kind of be a little bit messy in the morning. So if I would just wake up and just kind of like wipe the counters off, wipe the stove down, that gets in the habit of keeping it kind of clean. So I have that on there. I've got 1 minute of meditation. So this is pretty much just me at my desk. I can do like a stretch or like a breathing exercise. And it's just something to kind of like take a little breather and focus on just kind of like being in the moment, I guess. I've heard meditation's pretty good for you. It's not a whole lot. It's not like a 15-minute ordeal or anything, but just a little something to get me in the habit of doing that. Opening up RPG Maker MZ. So this is the application I'm using to create this game. If you go on the YouTube channel, you can see the devlogs, and I think I've done like 30 something devlogs so far. So we've made some progress in the game, and this is mostly just to get me in the continue to get me in the habit of making or just opening up the app and just familiarizing myself with it, even if I don't necessarily do a whole lot. Um, it's just good to so it doesn't fall off my radar, since I want to make as much progress in the game as possible. Um, Doing 10 sit-ups and 10 push-ups. This is just kind of like some quick little exercises. Sometimes I'll often do like 20 sit-ups, 20 push-ups while I'm down just doing them. But it just having the bar set to a low thing doesn't make me feel, I guess, overwhelmed when I see them. It's like, oh, 10 push-ups, I can do that, and then while I'm doing 10, might as well do 10 more, as opposed to seeing me have like 100 push-ups and I just look at it and I go, not today, kind of thing. So it's more about getting the ball rolling than it is about, actually having fitness goals. More about the habit than about, um, trying to, you know, like something crazy, I guess. I don't know. Going outside, this is something where, some days I tend to not even go outside because I'm just, at my computer or stuff like that. So this is just to get me in the habit of going outside. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I'll do anyway, but it's nice to just check off a box and say that I've done it. Get a glass of water. I've got a glass of water right here, so pretty much just making sure I'm drinking lots of fluids and flossing. I think I went 100 days last year flossing, so I kind of want to do that again. So these are just kind of some things that I want to do kind of regularly as habits. You could do habits like I could say like I want to drink less like alcohol or something. So every time I drink a glass of alcohol, I can like put like a negative tracker on that, and so it kind of discourages me every time I drink alcohol or something like that. So I don't like drink too much of it. That's just like an example, I guess. I'll probably do something like that on there as well at some point. To-do list, I can put like any goals that I currently have for my game on here if I want. Currently, I'm just starting this off, so it's a bit blank. But this is just something that I think that I'll probably start doing again, just because, I thought it was very beneficial, and I thought that when I was doing stuff like this, I definitely like felt very good about like my self-esteem, just crossing things off the to-do list. So I just thought I'd share that. Another thing I kind of wanted to share is this these personality tests. I think I made a video before about me doing the Myers Briggs on this website. They have a lot of different personality tests. In this one, we've got the DISC type, and DISC is pretty much it stands for I don't really know what the acronym stands for. I think it's like dominant. Um, I don't know what they are, to be honest. But D stands for, I guess, like assertive, confident, and hardworking. None of those are really start with D, but those are, I guess, what it means. I is enthusiastic, casual, and talkative. S is steady, accepting, and agreeable. And C is objective, collected, and reserved. So on this map, I got the stabilizer, which you can see here. I pretty much seek order and stability over novelty and excitement. I'm methodical and steady. I dislike interruptions or distractions while at work, and I may be more drawn to people who also value quality and high standards. So I think that that does kind of describe me quite a bit. And I think a good way to kind of test this is if I look on the other side of the spectrum, and the initiator is spontaneous, opinionated, and ambitious. And I feel like these are traits that don't really describe me at all. And then also next to it, the driver and the influencer. I feel like I'm definitely like, while I kind of like went to school to learn how to like be persuasive, I feel like I don't really like to be like persuasive all the time unless I like feel like I have to be. Decisive, I definitely think I'm very like kind of I don't know if indecisive is the best word to describe it, but I guess just like apathetic about like, what we do as long as the result is good. I don't really care how we get there. And direct, I feel like I'm I could be more direct. I'm not the most direct person. In terms of adventurous and visionary and outgoing, I think I'm flexible, but I don't think that I actively seek out adventure, and I'm not very outgoing. If that makes, guess that makes sense. But so I think these are like kind of like my foils, whereas on this side, I think that I'm very meticulous and calm and purposeful. I think that when I do something like, I'm kind of doing like these tests to kind of figure out like my, like kind of self-analyze myself. So there's always like kind of like a purpose, and then planning. This is what I kind of do for a living. So patient, thoughtful, and soft-spoken. I think I like to think that I'm patient. I might not be the most patient person in the world, but I think that I definitely like am slow to anger, I think. And I think that I am pretty thoughtful. And I guess I'm pretty soft spoken at the moment. But yeah, perceptive, consistent, organized. Questioner and harmonizer, I think these are both like kind of, um, I guess I'm equal. So I guess it makes sense that I'm in the middle. Like I do question some things sometimes, and I do try to create harmony sometimes. So I guess it just depends on the situation. I wouldn't say I'm like a rebel, but I do think I'm like kind of lean towards the skeptic kind of things. And then yeah, counselor. When I just made that video about going on Reddit just to kind of, I guess, be a counselor in a way, like not like disguise myself as a counselor, but just to like work on these kinds of skills, like listening. So yeah, I think this kind of makes sense. And this isn't like, I guess, a 100% science, but it's just kind of like something interesting, like a way to kind of give yourself checks and balances. So you like take a quiz and you can kind of like um, think about it in a way where it's like, does this kind of describe me? What are my kind of like things that I'm not so good in? So I think this is just kind of helpful for those kinds of things. I think there are more personality tests on here. If I go to maybe tools, or maybe I just go to Crystal, because I think, oh, maybe it's assessments. Yeah, so in assessments, I also took like the Enneagram, and so the Enneagram is like this nine different personalities, and I'm not the best person to explain all this stuff, but you can probably look up what the Enneagram is, and these are the nine different types, and I got the thinker. So looking at this, Max tends to be curious, independent, and observant. Loves to pursue knowledge and seeks a deeper understanding of the world. I think that makes sense. Next to me, it looks like I'm connected to 8 and 7 somehow. I remember this being something along the lines of like what your best self and your worst self or something. So I think like I'm definitely not really an adventurer. Um, I don't know. I can't really explain this one, but this is pretty much what it is. And then I think type 4 and type 6, since I'm next to them, I might be like something kind of closely related to them. I don't know. It's kind of a web. But if you wanted to know what my Enneagram is, I'm a 5, the thinker. Myers Briggs, I've done this video before and I've talked about how I'm an INTJ in the past. It's one of those things where, Myers Briggs isn't the most accurate, like 100% thing. But again, it's just kind of an interesting way to kind of look at, I'm very introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging, and then kind of seeing what I'm not. Just, I don't know, it just like gives you a new perspective of yourself, I guess, if you have trouble kind of like self-analyzing. I don't know. Big Five. This is something I took originally back um, in college. I think that was like must have been like 7 years ago or something, 7 or 8 years ago. And this one, I think, when I was being taught this in college, I was told that this was the most like informative one compared to the Enneagram and the Myers Briggs 16 personalities, because it's a percentages based one instead of it being like these cookie cutter, and also the disc one. They're not these like cookie cutter uh, like boxes, even though this is more appealing to look at. The INTJ, it's just quick and easy. It's really hard to be like, oh, well, I'm like a 21% extrovert, 29% agreeable, all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's the reason why. I'm not like an expert. But looking at this, extroversion is definitely my lowest one, as we've seen in all these tests. I think it's just good to collect data, so if you take multiple tests, you can kind of see where the similarities are. But this is kind of a common theme, me not being super extroverted, so not very outgoing. I think we saw that in the disc where I was not very outgoing and not very talkative. People oriented. Usually, I think like feeling types are often actually, I guess, yeah, they prioritize emotion over logic, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's not like for Myers Briggs, I don't think that like a person who's feeling never uses logic. I just think that it's like, it's kind of like what your gut, um, not really your gut, I guess, what you kind of lean into more, if that makes sense. So, um, yeah, I guess I'm not super people oriented. Even though when I looked at I was talking a little bit about going on Reddit and just kind of like listening to people and trying to improve that skill. But I think that that's more a reactionary of me seeing that I'm not super extroverted and I want to improve that skill, more so than something that I'm like naturally inclined at. So, yeah, extrovert is my least highest one. Agreeableness. This is something I always thought was like your actual like agreeableness of like if like are you like going to argue with people or are you going to agree with people? So I wasn't really sure like what this meant, because I guess if you are overly agreeable, I guess you don't want to be like too much of like a doormat, but you don't want to be too much of like someone who is like a rabble rouser. But it looks like this is actually measuring how easily you connect with other people. And I think that this is pretty accurate. I do find myself kind of like on the edge a lot, where I feel like I'm not like connecting with people. Even when we have conversations, I feel like there's still like barriers a lot of the time. So I think seeing this as like a 29 and seeing that it means how easily you connect with others. That makes a lot of sense. Um, I do think that like it's when like people are like kind of like uh I do notice like a lot of people like will just like naturally connect and like gel over things, and it does take me a lot of extra time to kind of do that. So that makes sense. Conscientiousness. This is how thoughtful and organized you are as a person. I think that like I definitely um, would see myself as being thoughtful and organized, but sometimes I think of thoughtfulness as like your ability to like remember birthdays or your ability to get the perfect gift for someone. And I think this is kind of what I think of when I think of that also is like, what's your love language? And it's not really my love language to like gift giving isn't really my love language. So I guess maybe there's other ways I'm thoughtful. I think what some ways that I think of me being thoughtful is like when I'm in public, I'm always cognizant of like, am I disturbing other people? Should I like keep my voice down? Using like improper language around people in public who may not like that. Um, Noticing when I go into someone's house, I'm always asking if I should take my shoes off, just kind of like respecting house rules, that kind of stuff. Um, so I think that like in terms of thoughtfulness, I do see that, but I guess it depends on what you define thoughtfulness as. Um, and I guess just trying to think of things that are uh, what things you may have missed, I guess, instead of just like, and I guess this kind of conflicts with the whole like direct thing, where like I'm not very direct. I'm more of like, where are all the different possible angles before I sort of approach something, and then organization. I think that I tend to like organization. I'm always like reorganizing my folders in my computer, and yeah, I guess just kind of like I enjoy organization, even though like my physical surroundings aren't very like super organized all the time. I think that like my mind tends to like organizing things. So I think that makes sense, 69%. And then emotional stability. How calm and stable are you during stress? I think this is pretty accurate. I think that in stressful situations, I tend to be pretty calm a lot of the time, and kind of thinking about what is a logical decision instead of just kind of like overreacting, I guess. Not to like make overreacting like if you, I'm not trying to say that like if you have a low, I think this is neuroticism or whatever. Not saying that like that's a bad thing. I think that if you do have like a low neuroticism, that might also show that you have more empathy. And I feel like that's kind of like a con of having high emotional stability, or yeah, because sometimes I feel like I have to try a little bit harder to kind of empathize with people, and I think that kind of impacts my extroversion and agreeable scores. Um, so yeah, I think that makes sense, and just something I can look at. And then we've got openness, and openness is pretty much how open-minded you are to new experiences, and what is your imagination like? And I think as someone who's like kind of going through all these steps to like make a game and try to be creative in those aspects, my imagination is probably pretty high. I do enjoy like writing and like world building, so I think that makes a lot of sense why openness would be my highest one. I do enjoy things like food taste tests. So like I do like being open-minded to new cuisines. If we're going to a new place, that this is like one of those things I was talking about a little bit earlier. Like I don't think that I would necessarily spend money for myself to go try a new experience. But if I'm doing it with like people that I like and people who I care about, I think I'm pretty open to trying things that they enjoy doing and just broaden my horizons. I think for the sake of just kind of like knowledge and experience, and like um I guess there's this thing of like having high expectations, and I think that I try to constantly lower my expectations for things. So if it's something that, I may not enjoy, I go into it like, oh, well, what's the worst that can happen? Either I don't enjoy it and, I went into it not expecting a whole lot, or if my expectations were really low and I do enjoy it, then I like it so much more. So I think that like trying to have this mindset helps me not be as critical to things. And sometimes I think that I think this is something where I used to be like super critical about things all the time. But I think I've really, being more open to things, lowering my expectations has really helped me, not be as critical in life. So I think I think there's the most to talk about with the Big Five assessment. Again, I don't really know a whole lot about the Enneagram, so this one could be a lot deeper than am describing it as. I know there's like all these connection things, but it's just not as intuitive, I guess, as like some of these ones. I don't think that any of these really have anything else. Um, but yeah, it's if you haven't, been on these websites, or if you want to do more kind of like self-analysis kind of stuff, I recommend going to websites like this to take personality quizzes. And if you're trying to, you know, kind of be more organized, I guess, with like doing daily activities, just kind of keeping a routine, and kind of checking off boxes. There's tons of different apps like this. If you like video games, you could try this one out. If you like uh, just like bare bones stuff without any fancy things, there's probably stuff for that too. There's a pet one, where you like raise a pet from an egg. I forget what one's that one's called, but I know some friends who are doing that one. But yeah, if you yeah, check them out. Not a sponsor, but I think that's all I really have for this video. Feel free to, I don't know what to say. I was gonna say like, comment, and subscribe, but you don't really have to do that. I'll catch you later. Hope you have a good day. Bye.